And live from Oklahoma City, this is In the Circle Live. Eric Lopez here alongside Victor Anderson. You see him right there, ladies and gentlemen. He's at Oklahoma City. This is our pregame show. We're about an hour and a half away from Game 1 of the National Championship Series. One unlike any other. It is the first National Championships matchup in the Women's College World Series since 1986. That does not have a team from the SEC or the ACC. It'll be Oklahoma.
Oh, you mean the Pac-12, sir?
What did I say?
You said ACC.
Well, the ACC is here. The SEC is not. That is correct.
Yeah, neither is the Pac-12.
They are not here. It is Florida State from the ACC going against Oklahoma. The number 1 seed Sooners going up against the number 10 seeded Florida State Seminoles. We'll get you set for this game. We'll be on until for an hour. And then we'll be back later tonight in the postgame show. Coming up in about 10 minutes or so, national champion catcher Jessica Shults, Oklahoma great, will join us. She'll talk about what it was like to be at Oklahoma City, her thoughts on this Sooners team, and the keys to this championship series against Florida State. And then later tonight, after the conclusion of Game 1, I will be back on here on the postgame show with Christy Fox, 2-time national champion at Arizona, and of course, current UNLV head coach will be joining us. So we got you packed. We got you ready. Victor, tell the audience where they can find our content, though, because we have been blowing up. You're obviously going from Oklahoma City.
Yeah, you can see. You can subscribe to our YouTube page. We have video from every postgame press conference here in Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series. You can also find our previous episodes of In the Circle live from Oklahoma City. We had tremendous feedback, tremendous numbers we've had over this week. We had Chris Plank on. We had Christy Fox on. We'll have her on again tonight to recap Game 1 and Game 2 of the Champ Series. Last night we had Charlotte Morgan, head coach of CSUN. We had Corinne Kumar. We had Ashley Waters, who will be on our pregame show tomorrow for Game 2 of the Champ Series. So subscribe to our YouTube page so you don't miss an episode. Of course, we'll have the podcast as well. Subscribe and download on your favorite platform. Our next episode will be coming the day after we crown a national champion. Whether that be Game 3 or Game 2, Thursday or Friday, we do not know. So we appreciate the support. I guess a couple fans here. Anthony found a YouTube channel doing the Women's College World Series. Really enjoyed the insight and analysis. Enjoy the show. Thank you, Anthony. Hope we are giving you some good content. Hello to Billy out there. Make sure you interact in the chat with us. Make some comments, and we will select comments to read on the air live. Hey, we've done it all week long. We're going to continue to do it until we crown a national champion, whether it's Oklahoma or being Florida State. And hey, whatever softball entity is going live before the game and after the game with insight and analysis from the coaches and the players who are playing on the biggest stages.
We're the originals here. Victor, you're obviously at the stadium right now. Give us the sights and sounds. What is it like? How does it feel right now as you walked into the stadium? And what's today been like here as we get set for a rare Game 1? It's Tuesday, but it's Game 1. Obviously, everything pushed back a day. But Florida State and Oklahoma, what's the vibe?
Well, Eric, let me switch the view from my beautiful from my beautiful phone here and take a look. We're about, again, 2+ hours away from first pitch. Field is in immaculate condition as usual. There were a lot of Sooner fans in the parking lot with myself and Justin McLeod. We're making our way to the stadium this evening. I expect a 75%, maybe 70% OU crowd. A lot of alums are going to be here as well. I heard Leah Wodak will be joining the alumni base here this evening, along with the usual cast of characters led by Lauren Chamberlain. Aaron Miller will be in the broadcast booth calling the game with Chris Plank on the Sooner Radio Network. And, of course, if you want to listen on Westwood One, Ryan Rackey and Leah Brian Amico will have the call for the national feed of the national.
Wait. So Aaron's not going to be down on the field. What about the popcorn? Who's going to pass along the corn there? You know,
there will be multiple people who will be fulfilling that role in Aaron's place.
I'm going to ask Jessica Shults about that when she joins us later on here. Well, give me your thoughts, Victor. Give me your thoughts here on this matchup here. You've had a night to sleep on it after you've seen both teams up close here, both coming out of the losers bracket. First time ever we've had 2 teams in the championship series coming out of the losers bracket, losing on Thursday. Florida State losing to UCLA, Oklahoma losing to JMU, but both coming back, winning 4 in a row, and here they are.
We're guaranteed, Eric, to have our 4th ever national champion losing that first game. in the tournament. The last one being Florida State in 2018. It's going to be fascinating to see this matchup, particularly in Game 1. And I'll bring up the stat towards the when we go in the postgame about teams who win Game 1 winning the Champ Series. It's going to be interesting. Actually, we got an update. Thank you, Steve. This is why you interact with us, so you give us up to date. Aaron Miller will not be in the booth. It's going to be DJ Sanchez, and Aaron will be in the stands. So
I knew it. There was no way. I knew there was no way she was going to give up that chair after winning 4 in a row. There was no way. No way. Not there. We're all superstitious. I'm telling you.
We're not all superstitious, but we're a little stitious. So
there you go.
Thank you, Steve, for the correction. We greatly appreciate that, sir. By the way, Josie, joining us late, Jessica Shults, someone who knows a thing or two about winning national championships here in this stadium, will be joining us in a little less than 5 minutes to share her thoughts on Game 1 on the championship series. Our post-game show will have UNLV head coach Christy Fox. She'll be joining us tonight and tomorrow, Games 1 and 2 of the Champ Series. And then tomorrow on our pregame show, we'll be joined by Boston University head coach Ashley Waters to share her thoughts leading up to game number 2.
But you were saying, so give me your thought. What are you looking forward to seeing here tonight?
The biggest thing, I think if you're Florida State, you have to make sure you have to get off to an early start like you did last night versus Alabama Montana Foul. Since you hear the national anthem being rehearsed in front of right behind me in center field. That's what happens when you go live, ladies and gentlemen. You get those unique sights and sounds that you can only see. As a matter of fact, look. That's
better than the fire alarm. It's better than the fire alarm, as Rob points out.
Really, y'all?
Fire alarm, Dick. I mean, it's
that's gonna live. Look, that's gonna stick with me more than Justin McLeod with saying about the 17-inning game with Oklahoma and Florida in 2017. He has not lived that down. He will never live that down, and I will never live down my new moniker, fire alarm thing. What could I say?
That's unbelievable.
But as I was saying, Florida State has to jump on Oklahoma early because they'll be the visiting team in Game 1 of this Champ Series. And for Oklahoma, I've looked for G. Warris to get the start in Game 1. She was dominant. Actually, she gave up that leadoff home run to Kate Gordon in that elimination game yesterday versus JMU. She was in a zone. This is probably the best I've seen Warris pitch as an Oklahoma Sooner, and maybe in her entire career. And this includes her being an All-American at Arizona State prior to transferring to Norman and playing for Coach Patty Gasso. So this is probably the best G. Warris that we've seen. Don't be surprised if I see her get the ball in Game 1. And for Florida State, I think it's going to be Caitlin Arnold. But, Lonnie Alameda, we saw her do it last night. She's not afraid to go to the pen early to play those matchups with her, with Sandercock, with Watson. So I would not be surprised if you see all 3 Florida State pitchers in some capacity tonight.
Rob has chimed in, by the way. He says, nothing but Canadian love, my friend. I'm planning on coming next year. I will bring you some ketchup chips.
Hey, appreciate you, Rob. But we appreciate we have a lot of fans in Canada, so we appreciate
What's with
that.
you and food, by the way, Victor? People tune into our Monday podcast. I have to talk to Madison Shipman about you and Allie and Alyssa Lang talking food here on social media. What's with you and food?
I don't know if you're aware of this, Ms. Lopez, but I'm kind of a very heavily built individual. So you kind of had to keep the tank full. So what can I say? I like food. I got Kelly Northern in our chat. Sharon Sadat. She says that Nicole May will probably get to start in Game 1.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Patty Gasso did this, I believe, versus UCLA in the elimination game on Saturday night. She started Nicole May. May got into some trouble, gave up the 3-1 home run to Rachel Garcia, brought in Juarez in relief, and Juarez shut down the Bruins. So I agree with what Kelly's premise, because you have Juarez in relief in case the freshman gets into any sort of trouble.
I'm very interested to see the energy on both teams. This has been a long track, right? Especially Florida State, the infamous 3 in the morning finish on Saturday, Sunday. I'll be curious, does any of the teams show like they have any, they're running on fumes? I think that's something to monitor here in the next couple nights, Victor. Now the thing that helps is with this later start, they should gotten more rest. So I think both teams should be ready to go. But I do think something to monitor is the energy on both sides. And I think the interesting thing is both teams, obviously, with 3 pitchers, how much do they get out of them in this game, and which one pulls the trigger and goes to the bullpen first?
I feel whoever gets on the board first is going to put the other coach in, give us some early decisions. Do they pull their pitcher, or do they go to the bullpen? Or there's going to be a lot of chess being played between Lonnie Alameda and then a combination of Patty Gasso and pitching coach Jen Rocha. So those moves and counter moves for game 1, setting up for tomorrow in game 2, will be very fascinating to watch and seeing how that's going to be playing itself out. Because game 1 is so important, and I'm sure you'll ask Jessica Shults this when we bring her on shortly. Who is most in need to win this first game? Is it Oklahoma or is it Florida State? Because both teams have shown they play pretty well with the backs against the wall.
No, that's true. I would agree. Well, how long before, by the way, the starting lineups are announced over there in Oklahoma? Like, when do you guys usually get word?
Starting lineups usually come out about 90 minutes before first pitch.
So we should be getting that pretty soon here.
Right. We may get them before we get off the air. It depends. So my official prediction for starters for OU, I think it's going to be G. Juarez, and I think for Florida State, it will be, I will say Caitlin Arnold will get to start tonight in game 1.
So you're going Arnold and who?
Juarez.
That's your official prediction. All right, we'll see what as Jessica Shults will be joining us here momentarily. She is getting herself set up. And we're going to throw her in here right now, here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at her, a national champion, All-American. I think she's ready. Now you're back.
I can't tell who she's rooting for in tonight's game, Mr. Lopez. Can you?
It's
a toss-up. It's a toss-up.
Toss-up. Jessica Shults, national champion, 2013 Oklahoma All-American great. Joining us here on In the Circle. Now, you're not at the stadium. You had to go back home.
Back home.
But Victor wants to know what happens to the the food there. You guys were passing around the kettle corn over there, it looked like. What happens now? Who takes over?
I'm going to purchase some kettle corn to have delivered to the front row for them today. So the tradition will continue.
The tradition continues. All right, Vic, what's your final questions for Shults before we let you go?
Well, of course, we have the better half of the Shults siblings on the live show.
Wow.
So, of course, that
wow.
I mean,
I'm staying away from that.
I'm sure Justin will send us a message within the next 30 seconds about that. But I want to ask you this, Jessica: which team is the most in need to win game 1 tonight? Is it OU or is it Florida State?
You know what? I think whoever takes game 1 puts himself in the driver's seat with pitching. Both, having to work a little bit more staff-oriented this year. I think if you take game 1, it really sets you up to utilize your bullpen a little bit easier and kind of get a little bit more comfortable, because FSU showed you yesterday they can swing it. So Oklahoma has to win game 1 and kind of set the tone early, because Florida State, they have the bats, they have the defense, so it's kind of, I think Oklahoma has to come out of the gates and win game 1 to set that precedent.
That's pretty good. The voice is sounding good. I was worried about your voice.
It's rough right now. It has been a long 4 days out there.
Well, I understand. Vic will pick up the slack for you on the food department in the stadium. Not so much on the yelling part. He's in the press box after all. It is media.
I love it.
All right, Victor, we're going to let you go get settled in there. I know they're going to serve food there for the media there. We'll check back with you here on the post game after game 1, all right?
All right, I'll see y'all later.
All right, that's Victor Anderson from Oklahoma City, joined alongside Jessica Shults, who used to be an analyst, back in the day. It's big Sooner tradition. So give me your thoughts there. You were just there in Oklahoma City since what day? What day you got there? Thursday?
Got there Friday. So I took a 6 a.m. flight, got in there. So I was praying they won game 1 so that I wasn't landing and finding out that they lost. So ended up working out in my favor. Got to get there for the night game. Changed my flight yesterday, actually, so that I could see that night game. And took a red eye to get back here this morning so I could get some work done. But no, it has been a fun couple of days, and it's been a ride. I wouldn't miss it. I told Coach I will be out there as much as I can, and that's just something that she's done such a good job of, making sure her alumni are invested in the program, and you see the team feeding off of it. So it's been fun this week.
So what was it like? You were in the stands there, you and Aaron Miller, Lauren Chamberlain. It was pretty loud. But this was remarkable. This is the first time in the Patty Gasso era that she has had a team that lost the first game and come out of the losers bracket to get to the championship series.
Yeah.
What did you see from the team that helped turn it around after the tough loss to JMU in extra innings on Thursday?
You know what? I honestly think it was – this team hasn't lost a lot of games. You know, they're a team, they're a young team that's kind of been cruising all year long. And they faced Alexander that first game, and she brought it. She had the rise ball. You could tell that she had a demeanor and a presence about her that was not going to be denied on the mound. And I think it was a little bit of a wake-up call in Oklahoma, like, okay, we've got to get back to the drawing board, change our swings a little bit, make an adjustment earlier in the game. They started using the ground more, piecing things together. But I honestly think that loss, help them set it up to, you know what, we don't want to be denied. We've got to get back in there and create some momentum, whether it's using our alumni in the stands, whether it's putting little ground balls on the ground, doing anything they can to kind of now create that momentum when the long ball isn't happening for them. So you just see their fight. And that's what I love about this program is they don't give up. And even, when having to come out of the losers bracket, it's a tougher schedule. And you just see their energy all the way through yesterday. It's been fun.
Everybody's talked about this offense, this historic offense. You were part of a great offense. I mean, I have defended your 2013 team. I have said it over and over.
You have.
All right, you're my witness. I've said it's the greatest team I've ever seen. There are people making the case for this Oklahoma team. My opinion, they need to finish business first and win the national title before we even get into that conversation. But just the offense alone, let's start with that because this offense has been tremendous. Compare this offense to your offense because your offense was pretty special, but yet this offense is taking it to a different level. How?
No, they really are. I just think their momentum. It's hard to compare because they are very different teams, but honestly, there's not one kid in their lineup under 400. So that right there is better than our team. So, they're just explosive. Honestly, 1 through 9, you can't take a pitch off. And I think this offense definitely has that little bit of momentum where even their slappers have about 10 home runs hitting out of the park. So off the bench, they've got 400 batting averages. So I think as a whole, they're in unison. I really don't think there's someone on the team that misses a beat, and they're all able to get the ball out of the park at any time.
You know Patty Gasso as well as anybody. How does she do that? Because you mentioned this team is so talented, especially with the extra year. Everybody's got a deeper roster. I mean, Oklahoma has I remember I forget which game was it where they pinch hit Green. I'm like, oh, wait, that's right. She was the All-American in 19. Yes. I forgot. How is she able to get everybody to buy in their roles? Because, everybody wants to play. Everybody's competitive. Everybody it's easy to say, wait, I've accomplished this and I'm not getting playing time. But everybody buys into her. How does she do it?
Honestly, it's the preparation and, having real conversations. Everybody knows, where they stand in the lineup and their roles going into situations. It's not a secret with Coach Gasso. That's why, honestly, I love her so much because she's real 24/7. If you have a question about your role, ask her. And she makes sure that everybody on the team is on the same page. I mean, that's the only way you can be that successful is when you're transparent and everyone has that buy-in for what's going in. I mean, you need that buy-in, and you see it with this team that they are all bought in to one goal, and it's to put themselves in a position to go for another national championship. And so I feel like when you have the leadership to kind of direct your team in that right direction as well. Lindsey Elam has done a great job of leading these Sooners and kind of taking them, she's going in and out of the lineup, but hasn't steered away from the goal and is making a presence for her team. So definitely think it goes to the leadership as well and making sure that, everyone's staying in that cohesion and staying invested at the true goal And that's getting yourself on the biggest stage.
They will be in the biggest stage here playing Florida State. Perhaps a surprise to some. It looked like for a while it could be Alabama in this championship series. And who knows, we could have been reminiscing about 2012 and that unique championship series. I know you did not want to think about it. We're not have to worry about it. Instead, we got Florida State. I don't know how much of Florida State you were able to see in person there while you were there. But again, 8 straight wins for this program for Florida State in elimination games at the Women's College World Series. What impressive run here for Coach Alameda, a former Sooner, by the way, who played at Oklahoma prior to the Patty Gasso era. So that's a storyline that I'm sure the national media will be following throughout this week. But your thoughts on Florida State?
No, I believe Florida State clutched up when it was big. I mean, they're a postseason team that knows how to get it done. I mean, they just won in 2018, and you see they have that postseason experience, and you're seeing that leadership kind of show now from those upperclassmen. And that's what it's all about, is who shows up when, you know, the lights are on in the World Series. And they're definitely a team that has showed up. I mean, they made some noise in the first inning last night that I don't think anybody was ready for. So it's just them kind of stepping up to the plate as well. They got knocked down early, and they're a team as well that has that postseason and that championship experience. And when you have that experience, it's that calm demeanor that helps you settle in a little bit better. So I'm really excited for this series. I think these are two teams that know how to win and know how to win on this stage. So it's going to be a dogfight.
Speak to the experience. That's something that's been talked about. Oklahoma has players that, you know, Mendez was part of the 17 national title team. They have players that were part of the 19 championship runner-up. Yeah. Florida State, they've talked about players like Danny Morgan and Elizabeth Mason, who were part of the 18 national championship team. How big is that, and how key is that in this series? How big is it having players that have had that experience?
I think it's huge. I mean, it just helps you settle in a little bit faster when you have those 22,000 stands and that roar of the audience behind you. It helps you get those game day jitters out a little bit quicker when you have been in that spotlight and you have experienced that. I mean, it honestly, after losing in 2012 and then having to come back in 2013, it really helps you settle into that atmosphere a little bit better. And both teams now have that experience. So I think you're going to see this experience take over and watch it just be, like I said, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be fun to watch.
I kind of feel like this matchup is eerily similar to 2013, ironically. You were the number 1 seed that year, just like this Oklahoma team was the number 1 seed. You played Tennessee, which had a lot of deep arms, led by the Renfro sisters, and was a program that had been there before, but yet kind of was slept on when they made their run. They were a 7 seed. Florida State is a 10 seed. We just had Madison Shipman on the podcast show. She did not enjoy that, reminiscent of that, as you might imagine. But that was obviously a great game one where Chamberlain, everybody still remembers one of the most memorable hits of the history of the series, the Chamberlain walk-off against Tennessee. Do you see similarities here in that matchup here? Because Tennessee had a lot of arms they threw at you in that series.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, that's what I love about Florida State's pitching staff. They have a staff. So you kind of have to be ready for whatever comes on the mound. And then they have the offense to back it up. So you saw them kind of offensive numbers, I didn't think were as strong as, you know, the other teams in this postseason, but they get it done when it's clutch moments. And I think that's what's really stepped them up to the plate is they've gotten the big hits. They've had those clutch moments and able to give their pitching staff some breathing room, which allows now your staff to settle in a little bit easier as well. So, I mean, to me, it's going to be a tough series, but then you have Oklahoma as well that does have a pitching staff. They've been pitching by committee all year, kind of rotating through their lineup, and they have the offense. So, you know, facing Florida State, this pitching staff has to be on their A game because 1 through 9, you cannot take a pitch off with the Oklahoma offense. So I definitely think it's going to be a fun series because of the kind of 1, postseason, but 2, the staffs in the circle and the explosive offense that we've seen from both sides in this World Series.
You mentioned it. These are two teams that are not afraid to throw 3 pitchers in the game if they have to and split it up. As a hitter, how challenging is that? Is that a big challenge when you're facing different pitchers? Could we see maybe a lower scoring game than maybe people think here in the first game or so until, you know, because of the different matchups the hitters might see and the adjustments that they're going to have to do from game to game?
Absolutely. I think that's one way to kind of, shut down an offense a little bit is when you do pitch by committee, because now the offense can't get comfortable that second time through the lineup. And that's what we've seen in Oklahoma. I mean, JMU Alexandra had an amazing outing, but you see that when you play a team 3 times and you have that 1 through 9 when you can't take a pitch off, you start to see them now timing her up a little bit better. You start to see, so with Florida State having a staff and utilizing that staff, I mean, it's tough. Once you go 1 at bat and then you finally have your timing on somebody and then you get another pitcher, now you're having to reestablish that zone with this pitcher and refine that timing. So I think this is something we'll definitely see from both teams this series, of having to use more of that staff style, which we haven't seen too often, or haven't seen really yet.
Give me your thoughts on the Sooner staff. G. Juarez has taken her game to a different level here at the Women's College World Series. Nicole May, the youngster, was, and then you've got Shannon Sale. One of the things I've questioned this year is the Oklahoma pitching good enough to win the national title? That was why the 13 team, you had a dynamic offense, but you had a 1-2 punch of Ricketts and Gascoigne, 2 All-Americans, no hesitation. What's been your thoughts, seeing them now up close and the 3 arms there, and what you've seen from them here that you think could help them in the championship series?
Yeah, no, I definitely think you see different pitchers stepping up this postseason. I mean, early on in the season, we saw May bailing out G. Juarez and Sale a little bit in that preseason. But you see the switch now when we get to the World Series. You see G coming in and shutting it down and having Nicole May's back in that night game a couple days ago. And so it's been fun to watch this pitching staff really, really have each other's backs. And it's not just one person they're relying on. Everyone has a role and is able to step in when one pitcher's struggling. So you kind of see that unity and that staff that, you know what, I've got your back. If you don't have it today, I'll step up. If you don't, and so it's just been fun to watch them all contribute in a different way to get them in this championship series.
The matchup that I'm looking forward to seeing is strength versus strength here with Florida State and their speed. This is a different Florida State team than years past. They used to depend on the long ball with players like Jesse Warren, Alex Powers, and company like that. This team depends more on speed, getting on base, causing havoc on the base pads. Oklahoma has one of the best arms behind the plate. Kinsey Hansen, you obviously was one of the greats as well behind the plate. Give me your thoughts on this matchup, because I think this is a big key factor. The Florida State speed against Oklahoma there defensively.
Absolutely. I think Oklahoma definitely has to shut down the small game for Florida State and keep them out of motion on the base path. If you give them opportunities to put themselves in scoring position, now it's just a one base hit for them, because like you said, they haven't really relied on the long ball this year, but they've done such a great job of piecing everything together. I mean, last night they did have those couple home run swings, but that hasn't been their forte. They've been pushing the limit on bases. They've been stealing. So I definitely think you have to shut down their short game, and you have to kind of shut down their aggressiveness on the base path to now create momentum for that Oklahoma offense to have time to take over.
And what's fascinating is nobody's really run on Oklahoma because of Kinsey Hansen. Mm-hmm. You've got to see her up close as one great catcher. What makes her so good that other teams have been afraid to run on her?
Honestly, it's been her release and getting the first runner out that tries to steal on her. When they do try to steal, I mean, it's not even close. So she's done such a good job of shortening up her throw and getting herself into a really good position that it just takes that extra second where you see that her, getting these runners out by 1 or 2 steps, but that shuts down that offensive game to be able to create momentum on the base path. Is once you throw one runner out, everybody's watching. So it kind of has that little hesitation when you do get those runners on to then want to push the limit on the base path. So I think Kenzie has done a phenomenal job of, creating that presence behind the plate and making sure, when she does have when someone does steal, she makes it known that there's no way. So
yeah, that's the matchup I am really looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Same.
Because that's strength versus strength, and I don't think either side's going to be afraid of the other. So that's going to be that's a big matchup. We're joined by Jessica Shults here on In the Circle, getting you set. We're going to be here until the bottom of the hour, then we'll get set to watch the game. I want you a couple other thoughts here. You coached at Houston for a while, an assistant now before moving back home to California. You're working at Gap to Gap there, hitting instructions. Curious on your thoughts on the run from James Madison and the significance of that for the sport. You were part of the Houston team that was a win away from the Supers there with a couple years back in Austin in your last year there with Savannah Hebner and company. How huge is that for JMU there, that statement? I know it had to be weird because, it's kind of going against Oklahoma's expense, but a lot of the people that don't follow softball really got captivated by this run by Odyssey Alexander and James Madison.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't not love them. I mean, secretly, I'm rooting for the Sooners, but you're just pulling for this team because of the story and just honestly, it's their presence off the field. I mean, listening to Alexander and her post games and just the humbleness. I mean, she captivated the country. And so it was fun to watch the sport grow this week and showing girls, it doesn't matter. You don't have to go to the Power Five. It does not matter what school you go to. If you have the right team and the right chemistry and the right goal, you can make it happen. And so it's been fun to watch this JMU team really shock the world and show them that, you know what, we are good enough to be in the national championship game. They were one win away from being in the national championship, but just the presence of alone of them there, I really think shows the country how much our sport has grown and the direction we're still going. I mean, just the sport alone, we're getting these athletes in. It's not just the Power Five anymore. It's all over the country. These teams have the opportunity to be in the World Series. So, no, I mean, that was a fun game to be at. I mean, Alexander, the standing ovation for her when she gets taken out was just, it was a special moment because she really did change the game this week for our sport.
It really has, and I hope it changes. How pollsters look at mid-major teams, the committee to some extent, and I hope I hope we look into. And I've said this over the last few weeks about because the committee gets a lot of blame, but some of it is their hands are tied behind their back because of the 400-mile radius rule, where you have to play a certain amount of teams there within 400 miles, and you were a victim of that. You had to go to Austin, Texas the year you went to the regional. Wichita State, who Coach Brett Benner very well. This was a top 25 team. They were loaded, and they had to bust a Norman. I mean, if they go to any other regional, they probably win that regional. UCF has gotten placed to Tallahassee. The American, as had a strong league this year. Got all of them to the regional final, South Florida to Gainesville. And I hope that this kind of wakes up, then we try to be more of a national tournament like college basketball, especially since everybody knows how to get on a flight nowadays. So and we got record numbers. People are watching on television and record numbers. I think all these teams and the student athletes deserve a new experiences of instead of like, oh, well, we're going back to there where we've been playing there before.
No, absolutely. I feel like, you can talk about that Wichita State team. I mean, they had a phenomenal year. And I do think this shows the NCAA that we do have to do a better job of making sure, with rankings and RPI, that we aren't just sending people within that radius and giving these mid-majors teams an opportunity to truly compete and give them the respect that they deserve. I mean, James Madison just definitely showed the world that, maybe we are doing this a little bit wrong. Maybe we do got to go back to the drawing board and find a different RPI and really look at what needs to be a bigger factor. And you see even the Big Ten. I mean, I thought they should have been hosting at least one of these regionals as well. So, I mean, just a lot of things this year that kind of shook up the softball world that I think that we've got to do a better job as a sport.
Yeah, Patty Gassel's been very vocal about that, talked about how Wichita State should not have been there in Norman.
Absolutely.
And Washington being placed as a 16 in a super regional matchup. Yeah. I mean, that Wichita team was like one of the top offenses in the country. Everybody was shocked.
Phenomenal. They were phenomenal.
You saw them. They scored so many runs. That personnel well. With players like Riley Buck, for example, and obviously Madison Perrigan, and then even the youngster Barnard, who really was a big part, and Bailey Lang. That team gave Oklahoma fits, and you've seen,
Yeah, no, that team is phenomenal, and so I mean, and I loved their energy going into that regional, but it should have been played out differently. We could have done things differently this year to make sure that these teams are in regionals that represent their RPI correctly.
Well, and look at the ACC. I think they have the biggest gripe. Florida State gets to the World Series. Clemson wins the regular season title. They don't host. They bust to Alabama.
Yes.
And then Duke gets a national seed, but they don't get picked as a site, and they're busting to Georgia.
Yeah.
And this sport in particular, home field is so critical. As you know,
100%.
I think it's like 90+% teams that win at home win most of the time, especially when it comes to the regionals.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think having that home field advantage really sets you up for success going forward in postseason. Just having that crowd energy, being comfortable, whether it's your pregame or, just being in your routine of going through your daily thing before the game. It really does help set up for success.
Yeah, and I think that's something hopefully the sport looks at. The other topic that everybody was talking about, the schedule. Obviously, we had the game with Oklahoma State. Florida State played up until 3 a.m. Eastern time, 2 a.m. Central time. Patty Gasso was vocal about that. Lonnie Almeida has been vocal about that. They moved the if necessary games to Monday. What do you think as somebody that's been a part of that tournament? You've on all levels. You've played at the at the juke at travel ball level, where there's a lot of tournaments going on, a lot of games going on, late games. But you played at the Women's College World Series. What's your thoughts on the whole scheduling topic?
I definitely think that, this hopefully helps show that they need to put more days on the calendar for the Women's College World Series. There is no way that game should have happened. There's no way you make an elimination game last until 2 a.m. for these teams that have been working all year through COVID, and that's deciding their future for the championship series. There's no way. Our sport's better than that. You see just the fatigue in both teams. I mean, they shouldn't have been put in that position. We have enough time in the schedule to, extend this tournament a little bit longer. I mean, and so it hurts my heart for both teams. It shouldn't have been played like that. So them moving that if necessary game to the Monday hopefully sticks from now on. I hope there are no more double headers that these teams have to play, and they give this series a little bit more breathing room, because it's not fair to these athletes, that these seniors, that they're playing at 2 a.m. and that's their last game, when if it's the game just gets moved to the next day. So hopefully as a sport, and with some of the great leaders like Coach Gasso, Hutch stepping forward and really being a voice for this, we see some real change, because I don't think the fate of these teams should be determined like that. So hopefully we see some change. I mean, there's, they have about a 2-week span for college baseball, and I know that ESPN wants to get it in within this time frame, but you know what? It's the national championship on the line. We need, the best teams to be at their best. And at 2 a.m., no team is at their best. So it really hurt my heart to see both of those teams like that, because neither one of them deserved that. Neither one of them deserved to be playing at that time.
I think the thing that struck me, there didn't seem to be a backup plan. It was almost like, oh, wait, there's rain here in Oklahoma City. Oh, no. What do we do? Right. But I want to bring up a couple points here, because I've brought up the idea in an emergency situation. I'm not saying this is ideal, but in an emergency situation like that, Oklahoma City has multiple fields. They host the Big 12 tournament. I've covered recently the D2 and the D3 tournament in Salem. They had a massive weather issues. They played it in 2 fields to get it in, to kind of stay on schedule and avoid playing late night. Could that be? Why not have that as a backup plan, as an emergency plan? Hey, if we're running behind schedule, why not have a second field where the teams can play and not have to wait till, in this scenario, Oklahoma State, Florida State could have played on a different field, start the game, and not have to wait till Oklahoma UCLA was going to play. Because once we knew that game, Oklahoma UCLA started like 9:17 Eastern, you knew that was not going to be a quick game.
Absolutely. I mean, but that just goes back to, I don't think that we should have those multiple games in one day. You haven't played one day, because honestly, a lot of it too is the crowd atmosphere. So if you're playing at one of those backfields, you're not getting that same energy as you would in the stadium at the Hall of Fame. And I think it takes away a little bit of experience of being at the World Series. So I say they have the time. Play one game a day, play the if games the next day, losers brackets, whatever it may be, but have a backup plan for these rain delays.
Yes.
A bit better than being our drop dead time is 11:30 p.m.
Well, right. Well, the worst thing about this, and I'm curious where you were at this point when the Alabama-Florida State game was going on.
Yeah.
Had Alabama won that game on Sunday night, Oklahoma and JMU was going to play. So now you have both teams waiting to see, like, are we going to play or not? I thought that was the worst part that kind of got underreported is you're asking these two teams to wait and maybe they'll play. I thought that was the worst part that was kind of underreported.
No, I agree. You have these teams. Are they going to play? You're trying to keep your arm warm. You're trying to keep yourself in that mental state for so long, and it's draining. We experienced it in 2013 with the rain delays, and having to stay in that hype mentality and in that game day presence, it's tough. And so I think just having a clear cut, this are the games going to be played on this day, extending it out a little bit longer. Now you have that wiggle room for everyone knows it's tornado season and it's going to rain in Oklahoma. This is not a secret. It's been this way. Every year I go, I'm like, oh, make sure I pack my jacket because it's probably going to rain. So it's just, you've got to be prepared for the situation. And hopefully the NCAA sees how big our sport has gotten and give them a little bit more respect when they are making the schedules.
I definitely see a tweak in the schedule. I don't know how far they'll go. I could definitely see, at a minimum, a day off between the semifinals and the championship game built in. So that way, if you run behind schedule, as far as going further than that, look, TV is a factor. Look, a lot of people are surprised that Game 3, if necessary, is going to be, I believe, a 2 Central start time on ESPN2 because ESPN has other obligations. They have an NBA playoff contract. The NCAA championship track and field is going on in Eugene. That's a big deal, and that's not fair to those student athletes to be taken away because softball got pushed back. So, and then college baseball, as you know, they're starting super regional. So there's a lot of slots that get taken up. And I think that's the challenge of expanding this extra days. I think from a TV perspective, I know it's not what, hey, it shouldn't matter, but it does matter because look, the TV has helped grow this sport.
Absolutely. No, I definitely think the TV has helped grow the sport, but like baseball, they already have that worked into the schedule that they're not playing back to back.
Correct. So right.
I think it's a conversation that, yes, I know that there's a ton of events going on. Yes, we need this televised or these games televised because you see the recognition that Alexander is getting right now. You're seeing the sport that she's growing because these games are on TV. And I do understand that TV does play a big role in it, but we have a year till the next World Series. You're not telling me we can kind of work these extra days into the schedule now and kind of, or, push starting the season up a week. I know they kind of work in that schedule, but I just think that our sport has grown so much and deserves these student athletes to get a better representation than playing at 2 a.m. to decide their fate in the World Series.
Well, let me ask you, as somebody who was a Division I coach, because baseball's been talking about pushing their season back and starting later, and for a lot of reasons, Northeast schools want to get games in, things like that. But that would also mean pushing the World Series further back into late June, July, and they feel that there could be more TV-friendly slots, too, for their postseason and have center stage to themselves. Is that something that softball should consider, pushing their season back and perhaps avoiding conflicts with the NBA and other sporting events and, expand that way and have more flexibility to expand the tournament to more days?
I definitely think that's a conversation that needs to be had because, to be honest, February isn't really spring anyway. You're seeing in these schools, up in the Midwest and the East Coast, it's still snowing up there. So they're having to spend the first month and a half of their season on the road because they can't utilize their campus because of weather. So I really do think that opens it up a little bit for these schools to be able to stay on campus a little bit more, save some money being able to host. And then now we get away from being in the NBA finals, having track and field playing, and then maybe redirecting the recruiting schedule a little bit because these are when the big game tournaments are being played for these recruits. So I think it'd have to be a little bit of juggling for when the big tournaments are now for recruiting and adjusting that way. But I definitely think it should. I just don't think February is really spring yet, and we technically are a spring sport. So definitely a conversation.
By the way, you got fan bases here. You got fans here, like on the chat. They're fired up that you're here, and they're like, one of them, Tom, saying, "Hey, who hasn't played? Marathon softball tournament in a weekend." Jessica's right. Nobody should be playing games in the morning with a championship on the line.
Yes.
That's going to be really. But people are like, Sooner national champion. I mean, there you go. See, everybody's fired up here. Obviously, hopefully they'll figure some of those answers out moving forward. But in the meantime, in the present, what's going to be the keys? As somebody that has, been on both sides of this national championship series, what's the keys for both sides here to come out on top here this week?
Who steps up in the big moment, to be honest? Who makes the big plays, limiting errors, limiting walks on the mound? I think just kind of everyone being on the same page is really going to take this series, because both of these teams are phenomenal in different areas. We talked about it. Florida State relies a little bit more on that short game and their speed and then their pitching staff. Oklahoma relies on the long ball. So it's how you shut down that other team's strength better. And so I think this is going to be a really, really fun series. Both of these coaches have been at this stage, have won at this stage. So they both have that demeanor that they know what to expect. They know how to utilize their fan base. Both of these schools are bringing back a ton of alumni. I've been seeing all over Twitter from both sides. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. Very intriguing matchups. It's going to be intriguing each day who gets to start and some of the matchups there with the bench and everything like that, for sure. And I know you're – I'm just impressed that your voice is still strong. Can you give us an idea? What was it like in the stands there? Because, TV was having their – I'm not going to lie. TV was having their way with you. Y'all.
Yeah, it was a party. We're not going to – I think I tweeted today, I feel like I played every game with the team. My body is just sore. I haven't cheered that much. I haven't gotten that rowdy in the stands in a very long time. But honestly, it was so much fun to be a part of that sisterhood again and be back and supporting this team, because – like I said, this sport and this program has done so much for me. So it means everything to be able to be back there for Coach Gasso and show our support for her and her program, because she gave us so much. So anything we can do to create an edge in the stands, whether it's us being loud, whether it's us just being a support system for this team to let these players know we've got their back, that's what we were trying to do. And so it's been fun. And I'm in the group text still right now with all the players that are going there today. Lauren Chamberlain, Destiny Martinez, Aaron Miller, Amber Flores, who was there when I, back in the 2010, but it's a lot of support and a lot of people that love this program. And so it's fun to see everybody going back to support the new age that is, stepping to the plate now.
I'm impressed. Who talked Aaron Miller out to come out of the booth and join you in the stands? Because when we had Chris Plank on last week, he told me Aaron was going to be in the booth with him, and I'm wondering. I think she did the first game. They lost. I'm wondering if that's what caused this chain of reaction. Give me a breakdown how she ended up in the stand.
I think it's just when I have so much FOMO right now being a part of the group text. The group text is hype with all the alumni.
Okay.
Okay, let me change some engagements that I had so I can be a part of that party in the stands. So.
Oh, my God. Who's the loudest of the group?
Gosh, I would say Cece was bringing a little bit. Lauren's loud. I'm not going to lie. I think I'm one of the loud ones, too. I'm going to put myself in that kind of
I heard you. I could have sworn I heard you at times in that broadcast when Scarborough wasn't talking. Like, I could have sworn. I could have sworn.
It's a combined effort of all of us.
Well, who's gonna pick up the slack with you not there here the next couple nights here? Is it Lauren?
Lauren brings that energy, so I'm counting on Lauren. We got Leah Wodak coming back into the stands tonight.
Oh, Leah!
I told Leah, you better pick it up for me. She goes, I'm loud. I said, okay.
Wow, I love it. One catcher picking up for the other. I love that.
Exactly.
That is awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time here. We wanted to have you on to kind of break this down. We saw you on the TV, looked great, and they sounded good. But tell the audience before you go, what have you been up to for those that may not be aware now, and where people can find you? Because I'm telling you, you've got a lot of fans here that are excited to hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm giving lessons in the Sacramento area now. Me and my husband moved out here. So, still growing the game, just a different way. I mean, I love this sport. And so whether it's at the collegiate level or lessons based, I want to be an advocate for this sport and for these young women that, are chasing their dreams. So doing hitting and catching lessons right now in the Sacramento area. My email's on my Twitter, I'm on social media, but just trying to grow the sport and support women doing so. I feel like we have so many great women in this sport, so keeping them in the sport is huge.
That's fantastic. And I think there's only one way to say goodbye to you. Victor, how do we what would you say with Jessica? There we go. Boomer Sooner. Well, there's the other one that we always say when we talk about Jessica on our podcast. Shults.
Oh, Shults!
There you go. Hey, enjoy the championship series, Jessica. All right. Great to talk to you. Great to see you as well. Take care of yourself.
See you guys.
No problem. Take care. Jessica Shults joining us here on In the Circle. Victor back with us here in a few minutes. We're going to have a surprise guest here in the next couple of minutes to kind of promote. He's a diehard Sooner fan, and he's worked with both of us in the past. So he's just going to swing by to say hello in a few minutes, Victor. So you know him very well. We both know him. Say what? Uh-oh, you're breaking up. See? This is what I was worried about. As the place gets more packed, the connections could get a little bit slower. Yes, Tom, by the way. Yes, Hogan's Heroes reference. Very good. I'm liking our chat. See, our people get it. Our people get it right there. As we look at the stats. Uh-oh. Yeah, Vic. Technology is not your friend right now, Victor. I'm telling you. I
think that's a sign to me to step out and make way for us to get.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, technology is kind of playing havoc on that one. But we'll get you back on the postgame. We'll get you back on the postgame show. Technology. Victor, yeah. See, that's the bad. I guess the quote unquote negative of having a packed house in the championship series, as people are probably chiming in right now to the stadium, as the internet connection goes a little south on that. I want to read out some of the comments here. Let's see. Shout out to Amber Flores, head coach of Seminole State, by Ryan Lopez. Yes. Bengal Gangsters writing love an underdog. There. Talking about there. Jessica did hit 61 home runs. Very underrated offensive player. Was a tremendous catcher, but a tremendous offense. Yeah, Tom is saying right here, that's a good way. Victor for tomorrow's pregame. There you go. See? Needs to relocate. Oh, I love it. People are, giving it to Victor. Feel free. If you got any last-second questions, feel free. We're going to have a special guest here in a couple of minutes. Some of you Sooner fans know who he is. But we're going to be off the air here in about 10 minutes. And lead way, we're going to get some food, get ready to watch the championship series. So Game 1, Oklahoma and Florida State. We'll be back on the post-game show after the conclusion of Game 1. Christy Fox, two-time national champion at Arizona and current head coach at UNLV, will join us to recap Game 1. And I'm also going to ask her about Mike Condrea, who obviously is retired, had his press conference today, as well as Caitlin Lowe taking over as the head coach. We got a few minutes, though. The weather looked good, by the way. People are asking about the weather. No, Victor's not going to pull the fire alarm and clear the stadium to get better connection. A man who has good connection is my good friend here. Sooner Sean, as I call him. Mm-hmm. He is here. Some of you in our audience know him. I know it because some of you I recognize from his podcast.
I have no podcast. I am just a sad, pathetic, lonely YouTuber. As we all have to start off at some point. We all have to start off like that at some point. So
it's a very popular show, ladies and gentlemen. Sean joining us here. Obviously we go way back to the radio station days, and there you go. See, people like Oni Kuno. Yeah, see, people know. I don't even, they know. How are you doing? You are, we're about 30 minutes away from the first pitch for the national title. I just want to get you on a few minutes because I want you to plug what you got coming up on your YouTube page, which is a great page if you're an Oklahoma fan and if you're a softball fan tonight for a moment. But first, how you doing?
Well, I'm getting ready for 17 innings of softball. I don't know about you, because the last time this program played a team from Florida in the championship final, we played softball all night in OKC. So, I mean, I'm ready to go. I'm getting hydrated early.
Smart.
Of course, I'm getting very hydrated. I've got multiple bags of popcorn ready to be popped if needed. I'm sure that, and plus, you're going to have some OU future softball Hall of Famers in the crowd in case they need to go in the depths. I'm sure there's a few years of eligibility. I'm sure COVID retroactively gave some of those girls that are going to be sitting in the stands a chance to pop in there. Put like the fake nose and mustache on. They'll be good to go. No one will notice anything. They'll be all right.
Oh, Vic.
So Lauren Chamberlain and Shay Knight, they can all just pop in.
By the way, you just follow the legend, Oklahoma legend, Jessica Shults, just so you know.
I know. I really started paying attention to softball in a joking manner around 2012. But as the years went on, it's like, this is fun. This is more fun to watch than I realized. And it's not just I'm spoiled. We're OU fans. Like, Patty Gasso has spoiled us all because we have the luxury of like, I'll just wait till May and June. OU's going to be there. I mean, and they pretty much have been. They've been in the World Series every year except like 2015. That's pretty much it. So we're a spoiled fan base. We've become the most hated fan base, it seems, on Twitter the past week or so. Because, man, the hatred is just popping.
Yeah, that's why I want to have you on.
It's popping up.
You've been pleasantly surprised with some of the softball interaction. It's a little college football-esque, man. It gets a little wild, man.
I have noticed that this sport is becoming more legit every year because I am seeing not necessarily positive behavior, but the type of behavior you'd see with football fans.
Yeah.
From opposing fan bases who are just. I've seen. We threw at Odyssey Alexander's foot on purpose and injured her on purpose. We can't win a game on the road. We can't win a game on the road. We got to play in OKC to win, even though this program came off like a 40-game win streak before they lost to Georgia, who, by the way, they turned around and went back and just ruled them out of their own building after that close extra inning loss this year. So I guess we can't win. So I guess in a weird way, I now know what it feels like to be an Alabama football fan for at least a little bit, at least in one sport. I know what it feels like now. This is what it feels like. So at the end of the day, there was some lady who used the C word when referring to Patty Gasso. We will not have that on Twitter. I'm going to hold that. We are not going to allow that to keep going.
I've told you this, and I've told people this that follow other sports. I've compared college softball fans in the sport is the women's sport version of college football to male, basically. We're all intense. We live and breathe on it. Like, you deal with this covering football, the recruiting every day. Softball, it's the same, man. The softball fans, once this World Series ends, their focus is on recruiting and the transfer portal. And like coaching carousels, it's no different than football. I've said this. The passion that the fan bases have is growing every year, and you've seen it up on social media. It could get a little overboard, but
we got former Michigan players who can't stand, who are making fun of OU, and I'm like, where's this coming from?
I'm telling you, man, I've been a part of it in the middle of it. It's been tremendous. It's been tremendous.
Why can't just people just accept the fact that Oklahoma is the best softball program today?
You're sounding like an Alabama guy.
Listen, like, if you make the World Series every single year, I mean, how are they not one of the top 2-3? I mean, if they win it the next couple days, I mean, I don't know, just throwing it out there. Multiple rings in one decade.
Now, before I get you to plug your content here, which is good stuff, especially if you're a Sooner fan. Heck, if you're a sports fan, it's fun stuff. I got to address the question here from MIW. What do you think will be the deciding factor in Game 1? We're waiting to see.
Who's going to be pitching? That's what I want to find out first.
I've heard since I've been on the air, I've gotten text that it could be 2 or 3 different people. Usually Patty Gasso tells Chris Plank on his on the pregame show there. Victor, by the way, going with Oklahoma in 3. He was going to mention that when he came on, but he lost his connection. No, we're not going to encourage Vic to put the alarm on.
Okay, so what is the story behind that? I've heard this a couple times. Why is Vic called that? Why does he have the fire?
We were on live. I've been doing our post-game shows since Wednesday night, and the other night while Victor's, because what we do is I usually have a guest to recap game one to allow him to get to his hotel, because he's not going to get good reception in the post game, and it's things like that. So he's doing it from the hotel. Literally, the fire alarm is going off as he's during the live show, and the fan base has now picked up on it. So he's forever will be known as Fire Alarm Vic.
Well, I mean, there are worse nicknames to have out there, so I would roll with it as well.
But he's not going to pull a fire alarm, Ryan Lopez, and clear the stadium to get better connection. He's not going to do that.
Well, Vic had much better connection just walking back to I guess getting his Uber to get back to the hotel when I had him on the other night, so we had no issues there.
In fact, we got to tweet Oklahoma is the Britt Baker DMD Heat, except OU has more talent.
Okay,
wow.
No, I've been tweeting a lot the past few days, but like I was having fun last night. And just referencing all of the negativity towards my program is like I'm saying Oklahoma's got Dr. Britt Baker DMD Heat, and then I have a few people who are saying, why are you referencing this and that? I'm basically being told that my wrestling references are wrong by people. It's like I'll reference what I've been watching wrestling for 30 years. I can reference whatever I want. Thank you very much. But what's the key? I think you stick with the plan. I don't mind if you stick with the plan last time. If G. Juarez starts, give up a home run on the first pitch. We all edge of our seat for about 3 or 4 innings, and then the bats come alive and we win comfortably at the end. I think that's a great strategy. Maybe not give up a home run on the first pitch. We don't have to replicate.
Yeah, that would be a smart idea on your part.
No, but all seriousness, I think whoever starts tonight, I would like to just I would like them, depending on how the pitching's going, what they're going against at Florida State. If the home run balls aren't there, just make the adjustments like you did the other day. Get some nice infield hits. Get on base, because this team's good enough to go around multiple times in the lineup, like if they want to, and just like keep the ducks on the pond and just put runs on the board. That's all I'm asking.
I would say, man, Vic. People giving Vic a hard time here. Got to dip into the funds and get Victor a better connection. Come on. He had good connection when he was on your show the other night, right?
Well, he was walking. He was getting the Wi-Fi that was in the area, but, he's got to drop I guess if you drop $2 for the hotel Wi-Fi for the boost, I don't know. It depends on where you're staying. There's the free Wi-Fi, and then there's the paid Wi-Fi, depending on where you're staying. All
right. Fair enough. I will point out one key factor I talked to Shults about to answer the game one question there as well. Florida State, this Seminole team is different than past Florida State teams. They don't depend on the long ball. They depend on speed. They play small ball. They had 114 steals as a team this year, among the best in the country. Oklahoma, as you've learned here with Kinsey Hansen, is one of the best arm catchers as far as throwing base runners out. Teams don't run on her. Strength versus strength. Oklahoma's defense has got to be sound. They weren't sound when they lost to JMU on Thursday. I don't expect Oklahoma's offense to click in game one. FSU, Sandercock's the real deal, and I think Oklahoma is going to have to try to win a 3-2, 4-2 type game and play a clean game in the first game. I think this is a bigger game for Florida State. I don't see Florida State able to win. I know it's weird to say that as a team that's won 8 straight elimination games at the World Series, but I would not want to fall behind Oklahoma 1-0. That's my thing.
Well, when you basically – to put it nicely, when you basically obliterate Montana Fouts the way they did last night, I think you got Patty Gass's attention. I think you got that team's attention. They tried to sleepwalk through JMU last Thursday at times, and it bit them. And they've been on, and it's nice to play a game where your season's not quite on the line anymore. I mean, it is, but if you do happen to stub your toe, you're still good. But as we've all learned, you want to set the tone. You want to try to win game one, but it's definitely going to be an exciting matchup because if you can take out arguably the best pitcher in college softball, G. Juarez, everything that she's done in our rotation, they gotta be smart, gotta be good on defense, gotta be solid in your fundamentals, or else you don't want to give up any cheap runs here.
No, I agree. I think that's going to be a key matchup here tonight and in this series as well. So we'll see. It should be a fun one. Oklahoma and Florida State, 2 teams that have players that have won a national title. Nicole Mendez, part of the 17 team. FSU has those players from 18 that won the national title, like Elizabeth Mason, who hit the home run off Fouts, and Danny Morgan and company. So I agree with you, Tom. Florida State is gamed. They will play tough, especially if they get a lead. They are very difficult to come from behind with that pitching staff that they have. Lonnie Alameda, a Sooner alum, Sean. Sooner alum. She played at Oklahoma prior to Patty Gasso. There was softball prior to Patty Gasso's arrival.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I've learned something new today. I kid, of course. I kid.
It kid. All right, we got to wrap it up here. So we'll see how that goes. But please give us a chance to plug your work, because you do some great work for covering college athletics, obviously football, but also softball. You've gone into the softball coverage, and you'll be doing that tonight as well.
For the first time, I've finally done some watch-alongs for football last year, where you're going to see my ugly mug stare at a screen and react to things. You will still be joining me for a little bit, it seems, so I'll have someone to talk to during the lulls. We'll find out what kind of like live watch-along softball fan that I am. We'll see how the chat goes and everything, but I sent you I private chatted you the link to the stream, which will be going live in less than an hour. And we'll see how it goes. But this might be a little more intense, because this is the championship final now. And this isn't just walk in. This isn't a Big 12 conference game where we expect to win, where I'm just kind of laying back and going, all right, good job. You got a good double there in the infield. Like, I'm a very laid back watcher at times, but national titles on the line might be a little different. But we'll have some fun, and maybe we'll talk about like more playoff expansion in the world of college football, because that's heated up today. Because
I want to chime in on that. I've seen your comments. We're going to get into that. The
whole team. A lot of opinions on that. A lot of like hot opinions. But
everybody's talking expanding. Softball's trying to talk about expanding schedules. Football's expanding the playoff. I'll jump in at some point after I get some food and stuff, because if it is a 17-inning game, I definitely better be ready. But
I mean, we could go 34. I'm good. So.
Tell the audience where they can find you, for those that are looking for you.
My username that I have had since I was in high school, because I'm a stupid weeb. YouTube.com/ONIKUNO. I don't know why I still have that username, but I do. Link is in the chat for the actual live stream. I'm constantly talking about definitely. OU recruiting is for football is about to pick up, so that's gonna be my next thing I'll be really focusing on. OU football is my main bread and butter here. I love to talk about college football any day of the week. I'll beat down on my rivals when I have strong opinions about Texas. I didn't get to make that Arkansas to the Big 12 video like I wanted to. Might be kind of old news. It's not happening, but someone suggested they should, and maybe it's a topic we can talk about at some point. But regardless, youtube.com/Onikuno. On my way to 10,000 subs. By the end of the year, I will make 10,000 subs, at least over 9,000. Then I can make the obvious joke on the internet like everyone else does, and go from there. But I'm looking forward to the game tonight, tomorrow, and hopefully just tomorrow night. We'll see how things go tonight.
That's the first one game at a time, as they say. By the way, this is not the first time Sean has been on In the Circle. The last time he was on In the Circle was in 2017. It was the same day that Bob Stoops, the football coach at Oklahoma, retired. So in other words, be on the lookout. There could be a legendary football coach that retires tonight after Sean's appearance here. We have Mike Condrey officially retiring today. Maybe that's just as far as it goes, but you never know.
And we had Arizona and Georgia. They'll be looking for new head coaches very, very soon. If not already, they have one. But definitely big news. Like, I literally did get on my Facebook feed a Facebook memory when I uploaded my my comedic reaction to Bob Stoops retiring. I did a little black and white. Let's see what's on the internet today, boys and girls. And then I made the real video afterwards. But yeah, it was literally 4 years ago today. I want to say today or yesterday when that news dropped. And it was it's been pretty solid. Post Bob Stoops been pretty solid. Let's outside of winning a natty, everything's been pretty good.
It's been good, but not as good as the softball program. And I'll leave it as that, because this is a softball show, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And that'll do it for here. Yes, to answer your question, Bengal Gangster, we will have a podcast. We will have a show before Game 2 on the same live stream. We'll be joined by Boston head coach Ashley Waters to preview it. Tonight we'll be on after the game. We'll be Christy Fox, UNLV head coach, two-time national champion at Arizona, will join me to recap it. And we'll have the press conferences on our YouTube page. Subscribe there. Our podcast, we'll have one as well later this week after the national championships decided. But thanks to Jessica Shults, national champion, All-American great at Oklahoma. Thanks to you, Sean, for popping in. Enjoy your show tonight. I will hop in there at some point tonight during your watch-along.
I look forward to it, and Boomer Sooner.
All right, for everybody, enjoy Game 1 of the National Championship Series. We'll see you after the game right here on In the Circle, live from OKC.